Hi,
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm
First of
good.
all,
Sorry.
thank you for accepting today's interview. It's really awesome. Like I said, I am a massive collector of collectibles, and I love the Diamond Select toy line. I
Okay.
I've just noticed your shelves in the background, by the way. They are majorly impressive.
They're very small. They're not as big. They're not like it's not like a trick of the distant bit. They're actually like
Oh,
tiny figures. Uh,
that is
so
brilliant.
it looks impressive, but it's very small. My office is very. I'm bumping into this stuff just spinning my chair around. Akbar.
There we go. It's a
Um,
trap.
yeah, I bump into this stuff just spinning around. It's a very small cube. It's my home cubicle, really.
I think it's brilliant because I genuinely thought that shelf was really far away then. That is a brilliant little trick of the eye.
Unintentional.
Right, so all it is today, or tonight for me, is I'm just going to talk about obviously the toys, the statues you guys do, the current lines you've got going, obviously the new Lord of the Rings line that's just dropped, and obviously pre-orders are open and stuff like that.
Okay.
And if you're happy about it, obviously speaking about like New York Toy Fair and stuff like that.
Sure. Yeah, it's fine.
Because obviously the past few interviews have obviously been voice actors. The idea is to bring a nice little something back, like the toys, the more collectible side of the whole comic book world. And I mean, I adore your figures. I mean, like I said, I've got the Fantastic Four,
Mhm.
and they are easily my favorite Fantastic Four set. I
Oh,
mean,
great.
the size of the thing is brilliant because he's just a big, bulky, like he is a weighty figure.
Yes. Did you see that they actually used it in the Fantastic Four movie poster with the
Yeah,
little
he's
girl?
there. She's got the. I went. I've got the figure because I was like, I've got that figure in my collection, and now it's part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And now I've got a piece of the Marvel Cinematic. It's a really cool little piece, and I think it's brilliant. Was that something that obviously Marvel spoke to you guys about? And
No,
no,
no. They own
oh
the rights to everything that
yeah,
we
yeah,
Marvel, so they can do whatever they want with it. People come to us and ask us, "Hey, can we use your figures in our movie?" And I'm like, for other movies, smaller independent movies, I'm
yeah.
like, "No, you got to ask. These are like characters. We don't own these characters. You got to ask the studio." So some
See
people don't
now I
get it.
find that really interesting because you, I'm presuming they license you to make those figures.
Yes, we have
Hmm.
the license to make the
Lie.
figures, but if we
I love the boxes. I like the fact that the boxes themselves for the Marvel characters can be displayed because you've got a nice picture on the side.
Mhm.
So I've got those behind them, and it's nice to see like the care that's put into them in a sense. Like you
Yeah.
you have these lovely sculpts, and I mean, for example, the Mister Fantastic sculpt itself, like it looks amazing. It looks fantastic. But I love the molds and the articulation, the posability of the figures is outstanding. I'm always amazed whenever I open one. I remember getting my first one and going, "Wow, I can really like I can move this, and I'm not worried it's going to break because it feels. Do you know what I mean? It feels well made. It feels well structured. It feels like if I want to move its leg that way, I can, and it's not going to just break the leg off."
We
And
try
I
to
think
make
it's
them as
brilliant.
sturdy as possible. We try to make them as sturdy as possible and as articulate as possible. We try not to use too much articulation because we want the figure to look nice as well.
Mm.
And when you have too much articulation, sometimes it can detract. But yeah, the Fantastic Four, not all of our figures have been that posable. At the beginning, we weren't able to do certain amounts of articulation. But starting with around the Fantastic Four, people were really starting to say, hey, you're really hitting a stride and really putting out some really good material. So, before that, we'd put out a lot of great figures. There were some
Yeah,
that weren't as great, but I think we've really gotten on a streak lately of putting out some really good stuff, especially with the Fantastic Four.
yeah. I mean, I another thing I want to mention is obviously the accessories that you get with these figures, and the accessories are so nicely interchangeable. I mean, the Invisible Woman. I am probably going to mainly speak about the Fantastic Four because I love the Fantastic Four, and the actual like the base that you can put her on is really nice, and it really kind of puts her in a nice display piece because you've got like Mr. Fantastic with this big body, I want to say, with like the stretch body that you could put a figure in as well. So you've got that nice display element. And obviously the thing is just like we said, gigantic. Like he's a heavy figure. And then the Human Torch with the base with the flames coming out. It's just such a nice display that you can make with them because it comes together nicely and it's a nice display of their powers as well, without kind of like having like really goofy long arms and stuff like that. Because
Mhm.
there's some toys out there where that's like, okay, we're gonna make a Mr. Fantastic, we're gonna make the arms bendy. And then the problem is with that is because they're bendy, there's no like structure in them. So they can kind of just like they're difficult to pose around something.
Mhm.
But yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I have obviously the Winter Soldier and Black Widow too, and I love like the bases some of the characters come with. I like the Black Widow comes with a little Ant-Man. I think that's
Mhm.
a nice little nod. You got little Ant-Man. And it's just and like the the Bucky figure with the like the church window behind him. Obviously, it comes with all the snipers and stuff, and you can have him knelt down, foot on the box kind of thing. And it
Yeah.
comes back to this articulation where you can really use your imagination when you're displaying these figures. And I think that's the beauty of them is not only do you have the collectible side of them, you have the pride in them. You walk in, you see like nice glass cabinets, and you've got these beautiful figures just kind of posed in these comic accurate poses, and they look clean as well, if that makes sense. Like we spoke about, obviously the too much articulation can make them look quite, you know, like
Mhm.
a toy, whereas these look clean. Like you walk in, you see them, and you're like, this looks like it's just being pulled out of a comic book page.
No, thank you. Yeah, no, we've got some amazing sculptors and designers as well, because most of our figures are done in 2D first.
Mm.
Yuri Tim and Eamon O'Donoghue are two of our main designers for the Marvel Select line. And then for sculptors, we have Chris Dahlberg. And we do have some stuff done by Gentle Giant Studios, especially if it's a movie piece.
Mm.
Um, and May Thamtarana is another sculptor who works on our pieces, and they do amazing work. Really, we've got some of the best people in the world working for us.
And you can see it as well. You can see the passion, the work that they have with like the head sculpts and stuff because they look, like I said, like they've just been pulled out of the comic book. It is brilliant.
That's great.
Um, Another thing I also want to speak about is the statues that you guys do as well, like the big do as well, like
Mhm.
the big statues, like those are again look like they've been straight pulled out of a comic book. I mean, I like the oh, my mind has just gone blank. You guys did a Doom. Was it a Doom you did?
Yes.
Doctor Doom?
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. Standing on top of the pile of skulls with the energy in his hand.
It's brilliant. And it's again such a lovely display piece, which I think is nice when it comes to like a collectible figure, is you know, it looks nice on display. Like you can have it parked next to like comic books and it doesn't look out of place. It doesn't look
Mhm.
like you have to have something behind it or something like that.
Mhm.
And they merge nicely together. But yeah. So a question I have for you is, do you have a personal favorite figure? Obviously, besides the one of yourself, because I felt like that was coming in.
I do have a couple figures of myself. I got the mini made of myself, the little one.
Mhm.
I got this guy that a friend of mine, some friends of my coworkers gave me when I left the toy magazine that I used
Oh,
to work.
that's brilliant.
Me as Iron Man. Iron
I
Man's
like
one of my
that.
favorite characters. We have made some really great resin statues and the PVC statues. Resin statues, there's actually an Iron Man, a classic Iron Man, where he's got 1 foot up on a cinder block, on a block of concrete. It's done by Claiborne Moore, I believe. It's a really beautiful piece, but it's a tie with that and the amazing Spider-Man piece that we did, which I think is also Clay Moore. And he's kind of vaulting over a rooftop with web lines. But those are both classic style resin statues.
Mm.
PVCs, I have a new favorite PVC every day that we put out because we put out so many of them. We put out one a month about, but the next one to come out will be Joe Fixit, where
Okay.
he's Gray Hulk hat, this nice suit, not torn up. He's dressed real nice, but he's got like a smashed roulette wheel on the floor. He's obviously torn through a casino at some point, and he's got his hands out. He's like, like basically come at me, and he's got his chest out, and um, and it's just a really beautiful sculpt. I'm blanking on who did it right now, but that one actually hits stores, I think, this coming week. So I'm pretty excited about it.
Oh, yes, that'd be a nice little thing. And now, obviously, something that has recently come out that is quite personal to yourself is obviously a book that you've got.
Yeah, I recently put together a book of my toy photography and posted through Amazon. And yeah, it's up for ordering now. I'm going to do a signing at a toy store near me called Imperial Castle. I think they've actually been on a toy store near me, the TV show. But they're a great place. They're not too far from my house. I'm going to do an exhibit at the local library. I am by far not the best toy photographer out there. There are so many amazing, amazing toy photographers out there. Salvage Cargo, Capwolf Photos, so many. But I wanted to put together something small just to prove that I could do it, and I think it came out pretty good. I'd love to work with other photographers in the future and do something a little bit bigger, but this was just sort of a small thing to put out there, and yeah, so it's a lot of fun to do. I shoot pictures of toys at night. Sometimes I make them say things, sometimes I don't make them say things, and um, it's I used to shoot a lot of pictures for the social media for Diamond Select Toys,
Yeah.
but we now have some professional photographers. I was never trained as a photographer. I was an arts major, but I never trained in photography. But we have professional photographers who take really great photos in studios, and we have a social media team that handles a lot of social media. So I handle a lot of the press outreach and
Yeah.
um, copywriting and editing and stuff like that. And I started shooting pictures for myself. I used to shoot for our social media just to have content to put up there, but
Yeah.
now I just shoot for fun, and it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
And again, speaking about like how I keep mentioning with the passion is in the book itself, you can see the enjoyment in a sense with the pictures of like setting them up and making sure they're in the right angles and in the right shots and getting the right lighting and effects and stuff. And you can see that in the book where you've got that passion behind it, which I think is nice when you're seeing something that someone's made because you could just take pictures of the toys and just have them, but it's that like it's the development of having them pose in a certain way, and you've got this creative process in your mind of how you want them to look when
Yeah.
that picture's being put out. And I think that's a really nice thing to have that creative kind of vision when it comes to the photography of toys.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Some of them take a whole bunch of shots to set up. Some of them, like I take like 20 pictures in a row, and usually the last one is the best, but sometimes I'm like, oh, well, the first one was actually much better than this one. So why don't I just go back and use that one? But some of them I set up and I take a shot and I'm like, that that's what I wanted. That's what I was going for, and I can crank it out pretty quickly. But I'm sure some of them you can tell I set up pretty quickly. But a lot of them I shoot on my phone just so I can
Mm.
share them easier on to my social media. But it's a pretty good quality phone, so it's okay. I have another camera that I use for work, but I've never really felt the need to upgrade the pictures to another device. Um, but yeah, it's some of them are quick, some of them are a labor of love. I'm there for a long time trying to get it right.
But then it's that kind of perfectionism, isn't it, where you want it to be exactly how it is in your mind. So if like the smallest part, like I don't know, the foot's slightly angled the wrong way, you want to just fix
Oh
it.
yeah, no, there's many a time when I've come inside, sat down, looked at it on my phone, or even uploaded to my computer and been like, I got to go reshoot that. I got to go outside and shoot that again because it's just this one little tiny thing that bugs the heck out of me. Every now and then I'll put something into Photoshop, but not usually. Usually I don't use Photoshop.
Which is good because it means that the photos that you're taking are literally that's the photo you've taken, which I think is nice. The fact it's not doctored.
Yeah, yeah,
It's that authentic kind of feel to it. And I like the fact with toy photography, it's an accessible thing. You don't have to have like models and stuff like that. You have to have models, but not in the same sense. You get to you can get a few toys and you can position them and take a nice photo. I mean, I fell in love with that Human Torch custom you did of Johnny Storm
Oh
with
yeah.
the Star-Lord head, I think it was.
I think I did use a Star-Lord head. Yeah.
And it's brilliant because it looks like Johnny Storm and it fits nicely and it's a nice way of having, you know, not the Human Torch in a sense.
Yeah, yeah.
Which
You
which
got to
which
have
I
an
think is
extra Reed
lovely.
Richards. You got to have an extra Reed Richards body, and any. Yeah, there are a lot of blonde heads out there that'll work on our scale. I'm sure other companies have done 1/10 figures that would work as well. But we did a Captain America, a couple different Captain Americas that are blonde comic style, that might work for that. But other than that, yeah, that Star-Lord, he's a little harder to find because he was a Disney Store exclusive, but that was a pretty good head. He's kind of devil may care, he looks
He's
like
got
he's
that
a
little smirk on,
yeah,
hasn't he?
yeah, a little smirk,
Yeah, that's
red head.
brilliant. The fact you can, put different heads on them and stuff like that, I think is really nice. It's like like getting like a chameleon Spider-Man figure and kind of putting his head on different figures. It makes sense with the character, and I think that's, you've got that again, the creative process behind displaying them. You could have a whole shelf of chameleon if you're a
Yeah,
chameleon fan, and you
yeah.
could just have his head and just loads of chameleon bodies scattered around the place. But it's that nice personal touch when it comes to collecting figures. And I think what's really nice is the array of figures that you guys do. Like it's not just, you don't just have one specific thing. I mean, you've got the Lord of the Rings figures coming out,
Mhm.
and I mean they're gorgeous. Like they are gorgeous.
No, they do that's Gentle Giant Studios sculpting them. They do an excellent job. I don't even think and Eamon O'Donoghue does 2D art for them, but yeah. And we try to make everything in the same scale, that 1/10 scale. Even our Muppets figures are 1/10 scale, so you can have them all interacting and doing the same thing.
Yeah,
Really, the interchangeability and the accessories and the different parts and stuff like that, that all comes back to mini mates, which are little 2-inch figures.
yeah,
That spawned a lot of the desire to do that sort of thing at a 7-inch scale, because they started out being very interchangeable. I mean, they're still very interchangeable, but we started coming up with like ways to make it look like Thor's hammer is spinning, and then we did that as an action figure accessory for the Mighty Thor.
yeah,
And we did, or Avenging Thor, I think is the name of that one. And then we did like the Reed stretching body, like you commented on for the X-ray. That we
yeah.
did that first as a mini mate accessory, so that he could wrap it around another mini mate. So that's definitely inspired a lot, and the designer is Barry Bradfield on those. But that inspired a lot of what we do with the 7-inch figures. And Lord of the Rings is another one where we're starting to do a lot of interchangeable parts and trying to make
Mm.
sure that we are getting all the things we want the figure to be able to do in each figure.
And again, like I've said, it's that clear vision of being able to see that, like the from the original design to the finished product. You can see the thought process behind it. You're not just trying to, I don't know, throw a toy out for, like, someone to buy just to have. It's the thought process of, okay, how can this person make this character displayed in, their room personal, because people have different favorites, versions of different characters. I mean, Gandalf, for example, you've got Gandalf the Grey, Gandalf the White,
Yeah.
it's that who's, which one do you prefer? You can have both, you can have just the one, and again, it's that personal touch when you think about collectibles. Is it's not just, you're not just collecting them just to go, I've got this one. And I think that's what's the best part when it comes to toys, like the actual action figures, is,
Mhm.
it. For instance, I love Mr. Fantastic. He's one of my favorite comic book characters. I love the Winter Soldier. He's one of my favorites. So, I've brought the Winter Soldier, and I've got the Black Widow figure as well.
Mhm.
And they're not technically part of the same set, but because of their comic history, on my shelf next to all my Bucky and Tasha like stories, that it
Mhm.
looks in place. Whereas on someone else's shelf, if it was just I don't know, just Bucky books, Bucky books, you, it'd be like, okay, Natasha, and it's that individuality when it comes to displaying the figures. And I just think the accessibility of all the characters. I mean, I fell in love recently. I was shopping and I saw the Annihilus figure that you guys did.
Mhm.
That came out. Was it early this year or?
The Marvel Select Analysis is actually not out yet. It should be out in
Oh,
the next few months, I believe.
oh, well, that's good then.
So you've got time. You've got
I've
time.
got so I haven't missed out because I saw it and I was like, how have I missed this? Like, I've got this Fantastic Four shelf, Annihilus. I mean, you have that whole story with the Human Torch going to the negative zone and
Yeah.
making Annihilus his pet. And when he very comically says to Spider-Man, "Hold my Annihilus," like it's brilliant because you've got that. again, you can display the Human Torch next to Spider-Man and have the Annihilus on a leash if you really wanted to. And it, like I said, it's that creative process of right. This is the figure, and it's like you guys give collectors the canvas, and then they can interchange it and they can make it their art in a sense. If that makes sense, on their shelf they can display it and be proud of what's on the shelf.
No, of course. I mean, people definitely want to be able to configure the figure to look how they look and arrange them the way they look on their shelves. But even beyond that, I think toy photography, to get back to it,
Yeah.
is really spreading like wildfire. I mean, so many people out there, are taking pictures of what they buy. And whether they're taking pictures on a set or just taking pictures of them on their desk or their shelf or whatever. I mean, so many people want to shoot it and share it. And it's that's where the interchangeability and the customizability and make sure they're all in scale to each other and that they interact properly and that you have the full team and that you can pair up characters that were together in the comics. um, that's where all that is very important, because I mean there are people who will set up maybe one or two figures on their shelf, but then there's just as many who will set up all of the figures on their shelf.
Yeah.
And they've got an entire shelf of you see the pictures of people's rooms, and not just mine. Mine is a drop in the bucket compared to some people's collections where they have one shelf that's just dedicated to all Marvel Select figures,
Yeah.
and one that's just to Marvel Legends. They'll collect the same characters in two different scales just because they like those characters that much.
100%.
Um, and yeah, to be able to present them in the right way is important already. But then once you factor in toy photography, I really do believe is um is the new level of collecting,
Mm.
being able to photograph them the way you want them to appear, in environments and stuff like that. And I think that's something that people are taking into consideration a lot more when they shop for toys.
And I think it's nice as well because with the toy photography, you're bringing these toys to life in a sense. Like you can, I mean, I've seen videos on TikTok and stuff where people are taking figures out to like lunch, and they
Yeah.
they have the figures like reaching into the glass or like holding a chip, and then, and it's again that personal feeling of this is my figure, and I'm gonna present it how I want. I mean, I was speaking the other day about how brilliant art is and the fact it brings so many people together and the fact that I know a figure of one character could mean so many different things to so many different people. Like somebody could have it in the box, which is obviously a very popular way of collecting, and
Oh
then
yeah.
people have it out the box. People have it posed. You got people that I've seen people kind of have it. They make it look like a hunter's trophy. So they have the figure, and then they have all the accessories in like little boxes around the figure,
Hmm.
so you can
I have
see
not
everything.
seen that. I have
I'll
not seen
see. I'll
that.
see if I can put a
Yeah.
photo up or something, just so like here, so someone can see it. But like it's that again. It's that lovely personal touch, which again with the toy photography you have again when you pose it how you want to see it, and then you can share it with other people. And I think that's a lovely thing.
Yeah.
I mean, for example, like going back to the Human Torch custom that you did, you've got that thought of okay, I want to have a Johnny Storm figure. And I mean, you you work for the company that could make the Johnny Storm figure, but you've taken it into your own, and you've made it your own, and you've taken a picture of it and you've put it out into the world. And then there's people like me who love Johnny Storm and want a Johnny Storm figure, and I can go, I can make one. And again, it's that accessibility of being able to do that, and the high range of products that you guys bring out. You've got just so many different fandoms that people can just go to and go, right, I want this figure from this fandom, but then I also want this figure. And then, like you said, the 7-inch scale, you can look at them and go, oh, I can make these two characters interact. And you've got that lovely, this, like Aragorn would never interact with Spider-Man, but you could make them interact.
Hmm. Oh yeah.
You could have the classic Lord of the. I'm going to speak about Lord of the Rings a little bit because they're coming out, and and again, I think they're gorgeous. But you could have the classic do you want to stand by me? And you have my bow, and then you could have Spider-Man be like, oh, you have my web shooters. Like it's that, again, it's that personal touch, and you can do that with the toy photography to bring it to life, to really push out this is my art.
Sure.
And then and then you got the people that look at it and go, oh, I want to replicate that. And then they'll get the toy and they'll have like a funny little, like a funny little pitch that they can just look at and go, and it's nice as well because it brings people together. I think collecting's very fun as well. Like you have people that obviously sell them, and then you got the buyers that, I mean, the feeling you have when you find that figure you've been after for so long, and you find it and you're like, oh my gosh, and then it gets you hold it in your hands and you're like, I finally got this figure. I remember how I actually had an ordeal with the Human Torch figure, where I was struggling. I was struggling to find it. I got Mr. Fantastic. I found the Invisible Woman in a Forbidden Planet, which was brilliant. You see it in your face, like I've got this toy in my hand, and I took it home, and you can guarantee as soon as I got home, this might upset some people, but I just you know broke that box straight open, took out all the pieces. I was deciding, okay, right, I can display it like this. I can have half of her invisible, half materialized, have the invisible arm sticking out, and I can have fun with it. And I mean, I spent maybe an hour or so deciding where I wanted her on the shelf, how I wanted to position, and all this. And I can't lie, I put her in probably the most basic pose ever. She's got her right arm outstretched, and she's taking a step back, and it's a very basic pose, but it's my pose. I chose that pose, and it's nice to look at it and go, that's my creative kind of thought process. Very basic, apparently.
No, that's it's a figure that doesn't need a lot of dynamic.
Mm,
I mean, the character herself is very powerful. She doesn't need to do a lot of crazy posing to use her powers, obviously, but also just the design and the sculpt of the figure. Um, even just standing there, her figure is half invisible, so she's clearly using her powers somehow. She's got the base, she's got the thing that claps onto her hand, if you want to use that.
yeah,
And the expression on her face is very, very serious and very, um, I don't know, very strong. And that was a design that was in the design by Eamon O'Donoghue. I remember, and I think uh, that was captured amazingly by, I believe that was a May sculpt. So yeah, he did an amazing job.
and I mean, this might get some people commenting, but I mean, obviously, Sue Storm is the most powerful Fantastic Four member.
Oh yeah,
Like
of
she
course.
just is. She could get rid of them all easily without a second thought. If she went evil, like I mean, she had a Malice episode,
Malice, yeah,
where obviously that was embodied hate. But then if you just think of like Secret Invasion, for example, there you go. When the scroll turned into the Invisible Woman, and you can see that like the oh my gosh, if she was a villain, she would be scary. Not even like an invisible villain just coming up and just putting an air bubble in your throat. That's it.
yeah,
And you can see,
yeah,
and again, like you said, you can see that power when she's just standing there. You can see the face sculpt, kind of like she knows that she could kick your ass. She can stand there just arms by her side, half invisible. One hand outstretched, and you can think, right, okay, that is the most powerful Fantastic Four member.
yeah,
And yeah,
right.
it's
Great.
so New York Toy Fair, the
Yeah.
place that I would have loved to have gone, but unfortunately, I am a few fair miles away. Tell me about it. What was one of your few of your favorite items that you guys were showcasing?
Let's see. My favorite item was probably a tie between the Muppets action figures, which I love the Muppets, and I think we do an amazing job on the action figures. We showed off two new ones, which we're actually going back to the drawing board on one of them. Not the drawing board, but we're going to make some revisions to it.
Okay.
Um, so Lips from the band will be a little different when we finally show him for real. And then New Zealand is perfect. So I don't think he's changing at all. Um, but I also was really excited about the new Mini Mates license we're showing off because I love the 2-inch Mini Mate figures. And we're showing off a new license of Planet of the Apes based on the classic movies, the Mini Mates anyway. We're going to do busts and statues of both the classic series and the newer movies.
Oh, that's
Uh,
brilliant.
Caesar. So my cat joined us. Um, and but the mini mates, I think we're just doing classic for now, but I'm very excited about it because it's a line that's had has a lot of history in the
Mhm.
minifigure world. There have never been Legos, but there were Kubricks, and Kubricks were a very big influence on mini mates when they were first developed back in the early 2000s. Um, and so to be able to come back and do that property in mini-mate form is very cool. And it fits in with all the different sci-fi. We've done Aliens, we've done Predator, we've done Terminator, we've done a lot of different licenses. So being able to do Planet of the Apes, I think is really cool. And it's in such an iconic
Yeah.
legendary property. I think it's a big deal for mini-mates. We try to do a mix of stuff that's new and cool and stuff mix of stuff that's old and cool.
Yeah.
And this is obviously a little older, 1960s, but I think it's gonna be very cool when we finally put them out.
Well, they're iconic films, aren't they? Planet of the Apes. Everybody
Oh,
remembers that classic final scene with the Statue of Liberty, and
yeah.
that, the classic, like, that is just an iconic shot in a sense.
I think I've seen most of the classic movies, but I'm working my way through the entire run just in case. I've already watched the first couple. Um, so I got to get to three, four, five, six. I gotta work my way down the line. Um, but some of them I remember getting a little stranger. So I'm looking forward to rewatching.
Yeah. I mean, that's always the enjoyment of it as well. I'm presuming that's part of the planning process is you watch the old ones to see the kind of designs, which sounds brilliant as a job, to be honest. Watching classic films sounds brilliant.
No, I want to be able to talk about them and write about them the way I need to. So I want to be able to like speak knowledgeably about the universe and the world.
Mm.
But sometimes they'll ask me my opinion about what characters should be in different lines. Not usually. It's not really my job.
Mhm.
They'll ask me what Marvel characters are Marvel Select fans looking for right now, and I'll work with the product manager, Robert Yee, on a list of different characters that we think would be good, and then we send those to the president, and then he picks the ones he thinks would be a good idea to do, and then but for mini mates sometimes I'll weigh in a little bit, but Barry Bradfield, the product manager for mini mates, is very knowledgeable and he knows what we can do and what we have done and all that
Mm.
stuff. Um, so being seen as somebody who knows about a license is good for me internally because I can weigh in and say, hey, look, I think these are the Muppets that we should really do next because I'm a big Muppets fan.
Oh, I love the
Um,
Muppets.
so it's uh it's definitely a not part of my not a big part of my job, but being able to contribute occasionally is nice.
Is that see that sounds nice as well. I mean, obviously speaking about the Muppets as well, they have so many iconic characters.
Oh yeah.
And I think that'd be, I think the figures that obviously we saw at New York Toy Fair, they look brilliant because I love the fact that they look like puppets. If that I know it sounds daft, but they look like they're made out of cloth. And I think that's
Oh yeah.
brilliant when you bring that kind of imagery into a plastic toy where it's like, yeah, it looks like it's made out of cloth, but it's not, and it's fully posable, and you can have a bit of fun with it. I mean, I'd love to get the whole band. I'd love to get the
Yes.
whole band. That'd be brilliant.
No, we've done everybody except for Lips at this point. We did them as individual two packs, and we did them as a big box set. But Lips was always missing, so now that we're finally able to do Lips, since he's had a big role in the Mayhem TV series,
Mm.
it made sense for us to do him, and because the band sells so well on a regular basis, so why not do another band member? And New Zealand is just a classic, larger than life character from
Yeah.
the classic TV series. He's in a lot of the movies, even if it's just a cameo appearance. Um, Not really so much a part of the modern Muppet mythos, but uh, we're definitely getting a lot of the modern characters with Uncle Deadly and Pepe the King Prawn. I'd love to do characters like Bobo the Bear,
Mm.
who was so great in all of his roles, and Walter, who was created for the new movies, but
Oh, I
has
love
already,
Walter.
yeah, he's already joined, the pantheon of great Muppet characters. So I'd love to do new characters like them, but there's also so many old characters like Link Hogthrob and Dr. Strange Pork that we haven't done from Pigs in Space.
Yeah.
There's a lot of old characters and a fair amount of new characters that would be great to do.
Do you
But
think
it's just a question of figuring out what makes the most sense.
do you think if you did some iconic characters from Pigs in Space, you'd include the ship or like a
Now,
small model of?
yeah, Palace to do a model of the ship would be very cool as an accessory, so you could have it going through, space scenes and stuff like
Hmm.
that. Um, Palisades Toys had such big shoes to fill when we stepped into the license. They made so many great dioramas and stuff. So I think dioramas for us are a little harder because the toy industry has expanded so much that
Yeah,
you have to fight for every little inch of space that you get in stores. So Palisades at the time, it was a smaller industry, and they were able to say, "Hey, look, we were able to get these play sets into stores like Electronics Boutique and Target and other places that
yeah,
that maybe have expanded, their sections, but also have, don't have as much room for new licenses as much anymore. So it's just a question of whether or not that's something we could get enough orders for to make something that big,
yeah,
that much plastic, that much tooling. Um, right now, we're not really thinking that's the case, so we're sticking to the action figures. But to do a model of the swine trek would be fantastic.
I think it'd be brilliant because you could put it just in the background on a little piece of string and just have
Oh
it
yeah,
dangling,
no,
proper
put it on a clear
show-esque.
stand. Yeah, so you can
um,
have it in the background for toy photographers. Just put it in the
exactly,
background.
yeah, exactly. But there it is. There you go. Because Pigs in Space is like that's the classic Muppets, isn't it? That's Pigs
Yeah,
in Space.
no, that and veterinarian hospital is another favorite of mine. I really like veterinarian hospital, so I'd love to do a
I love the
veterinarian hospital
Muppets.
set at some
I
point.
like the Muppets. I think they're brilliant. One mini mates like that I really kind of found myself drawn towards with the Dungeons and Dragons ones.
Yes,
I think they look brilliant, and they'd work on like a Dungeons and Dragons table,
yes,
which I
yeah.
think's brilliant.
The first set was entirely based on the cartoon. It was all the main characters, and then the second set was also bad guy characters and the dungeon master from the cartoon. But the third set is very much a mix of cartoon and also classic toy line. So you have characters like Kelek, the wizard, and um, uh, not Braveheart, Strongheart, who's the knight. So there are definitely influences from the toy line there, but also from the cartoon. And I think the first two sets did really well. I think the third set's going to do great.
Yeah, I mean, I remember seeing it and going, "Oh, that's cool," because I like how they were just obviously they're displayed to showcase, but I like the way that they were displayed on the display because they looked brilliant. They
Well,
really
thank
did. And obviously you've
yeah.
got the wave of the Invincible figures coming out.
Yes,
They look brilliant.
the new wave of Invincible figures just hit last week with Rex Explode and the Mauler twin. You have to buy two, and we're working on Series 5 right now. We're pinning down exactly what characters would make sense to do for Series 5. I have some ideas. The boss has some ideas. Skybound, the publishing company, has some ideas. So it's based on the cartoon. We license through them.
Yeah.
Um, but we all have different ideas of what would be good to do. So we're just settling on what would be the best
Well, I'm
route to
excited to
go.
see what we
Yeah.
get, to be honest, because honestly, Invincible is such a brilliant world.
Yes.
Comics and the show that they're both brilliant, and I think there's that many characters they can kind of go right. There's a figure of this
Um,
guy.
but
I
there are
mean, it's
characters
obviously
we've seen from the first couple of seasons that would be just great to do, like the Immortal
yeah.
is
Oh
one
well,
that I
yeah,
really want to do because I think about it in terms of like not necessarily who has the most screen time, but who would be the most fun to set up and pose and play with
100%.
and have fighting other characters on your shelf. So the Immortal he fights everybody, so
Yeah,
he'd be great to
and it would be really good with the Immortal as well because you could have his head.
yep, removable head.
You could have
Yeah.
like his removable head and just have like a little stand just to put his head on.
Yes.
That'd be brilliant. Just like there you go. There's the Immortal's head. See,
See, you can do this. Anybody can do this.
it's oh,
this is the most fun job in the world.
it would be brilliant just to think about okay, what kind of toy do people want? What character should we bring? What fun can we have with it? What can we take off and replace and move
Yeah.
about and how much fun can somebody have positioning it and posing it and stuff like that? And it's just that's the beauty of the toys that you guys bring out. Like I said before, with the accessories, they are just so vast and I mean, you open these boxes and the accessories, it's just kind of like, wow, you've got so much customization. It's brilliant.
Yeah, yeah.
But
No,
yeah,
I was opening the Mauler twin for the first time, and he's got 8 hands, and he's got the alternate head, and Rex Explode got a ton of hands and a couple different heads, and he's just there. It's a great wave
mm.
of those two characters in particular. But we plan to keep going for a while, so hopefully every character people want to see will get made.
And that's always a nice thing as well. When you have such a large roster of characters, you
Yeah,
can you can kind of go, right, okay, what kind of, what figures do people want? What character do people want brought in?
yeah,
Because it's that nice thought process behind it where you're thinking, okay. I mean, obviously you're a fan of the mini mates, so when it comes to mini mates, you think of what kind of mini mates that you might want, and then you can kind of go, right, let's see if that's kind of like a shared feeling.
yeah, yeah. Coming up with sets for Marvel, which has been going on since 2003,
Mm,
um, is tough because you want to think about characters that haven't been done lately. Um, but you have to think about characters that were done a long time ago, whether the collectors who have those or whether those are still out there for people to collect, whether the collectors who have them will want to buy a new version.
yeah,
That's stuff you really have to think about. Invincible would be great to revisit in Minimates because we did one box set, maybe it's probably been 10 years ago at this point. And to do another set of Minimates based on the cartoon would be really cool. But I'm not sure what our plans are for that. Action figures, and I think we might end up doing some more gallery dioramas, which would be
I
very.
see,
We
that's
did one
cool.
gallery diorama of Adam Eve a long time ago, but it'd be
Mm,
great to do more.
yeah, because obviously you've got so many different environments that they can be in.
Oh yeah,
And it's
no, so
brilliant.
many action rubble and body parts and all
Half
sorts
a
of stuff
building,
all
half
over
a
the place.
train.
Yeah, no, there's it's an endlessly possible world. I mean, he's created so many characters. They travel the galaxy, all over the world. Um, and there's so many characters that'd be fun to work with. So hopefully we're doing Invincible stuff for a long time.
Yeah, Invincible's brilliant. I mean, I am really expecting whenever I go to say it, it's just going to pop up on the screen.
I really love Invincible.
Yeah, I love that. Like they go, yeah, well, we're talking about. It's such a brilliant little bit. Um, so a mini mate set that I'm gutted that it came along when I wasn't really collecting was
Hmm.
the Fantastic Four set.
Yes.
That set is gorgeous, and it's one of those where it's really difficult to find. And if you do find it, it's like, whoa. Like I found a few. It might just be because of obviously I'm in the UK, so it might be a
Yeah.
bit more harder to source. But it's that I can't pay that. I'd love to because
It's
I'd love to have them just in front of my other ones. But yeah,
Yeah, there's a lot of UK Minimate fans. I talked to a lot of them on the message board. The Minimate Multiverse .com message boards are very, very fun and friendly to hang out on, and there's a lot of UK fans there. Um, I think right now Minimates are not sold in the UK. Orders have not traditionally been super strong for the
mm,
UK, so I think we don't test them for the UK right now, but um, they are always available from import sites. So. Hopefully you can find them. If not, I might have to send you a set your way.
oh
But yeah, the Fantastic Four set's a really great one. That was the first set we did where we went from waves of 2 packs to box sets of 5 or 6.
yeah, because I mean
Um,
it's a
yeah,
gorgeous set. The
it's
box
got
itself is
Herbie.
lovely.
It's got Doctor Doom as the Superior Iron Man. It's
Yeah,
got the Silver Surfer in his black configuration. Um, and the box art is amazing. Barry
yeah,
Bradfield, who designs the Minimates, does the cover art. Usually in a tribute to an existing comic book cover. And he did an amazing job on that one. I
yeah.
think it came out really great.
And I think it's beautiful. Like I've said, like that is one that I've hunted down. Um, which obviously being limited with the UK, it's that difficult market with collectibles. So
Yeah.
like trying to get the toys sometimes is difficult. Like I said, with the Human Torch, I had a bit of a problem with. I think
Mm.
I ended up ordering one from Italy, which is funny because if it was like Toy Story, my Human Torch would speak Italian. But yeah, like I mean, like you said with the box art as well, it's that the fact you can display the box, which obviously I said earlier, and then you can have them situated in. You could probably recreate the pose.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, I remember seeing when I properly started collecting figures and stuff like that, seeing that mini mate box is like one of those, like a holy grail in a sense.
Hmm.
Like a lot of collectors have a piece that they want to put in their collection. I'd say because I have the Diamond Select Fantastic Four already. Because at one point for me it was really strange. It was actually the Thing.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I got Invisible Woman from Forbidden Planet. Human Torch was from Italy, my friend helped me track down. And Mr. Fantastic, I was really lucky with, and I actually found him from just a seller, at like a market, which was brilliant. But the Thing, he was difficult because obviously because he's so heavy,
Hmm.
his postage
Oh
was
gosh.
loads because he is a weighty figure. Like
Yeah.
he is really strong. But yeah, so now that I've cleared that, it's very much finding the other Fantastic Four bits that I can add to my collection because I put them all in little groups depending on like the manufacturer.
Hmm.
So I mean, I've got the 2005 film figures, I've got the Walgreens one, the Marvel Selects, and then in the middle is the Diamond Selects. There they are, very much there, because they're gorgeous figures, like I said earlier.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it's a really great set. And it's just I'm a big Iron Man fan. You like the way you like Fantastic Four. I love Iron Man, and we've
Mm.
done a lot of Iron Man figures. But we did not too long ago we did the Silver Centurion Iron Man, which is my favorite armor. It's the one I was reading about when I first started. And then we did Titanium Man, and we did Crimson Dynamo,
Oh,
and
Crimson
we're working
Dynamo's
on
cool.
War Machine. So once we do War Machine, we have a
Mm.
nice little four group of figures that are going to be my favorite Marvel selects that we've done. So I expect to have a lot more battles and photographs of them in the future.
And I can imagine the War Machine figure being quite fun as well because the amount of things you can put on him, in a sense, the
Yes.
amount of accessories. I mean, my brain's just exploding with the amount of things I think, like arm cannons, like a shoulder turret with like the bullet kind of expression on it, the bullets coming off, stuff like that. It's I can imagine
Yeah.
he'd be quite nice to photograph as well because you could have a bit of fun with it.
Yeah, he's got a lot of detail. He's got a lot of different faces and heads. And there will be, which is something we haven't done a lot of. We'll make like energy blasts for people who can fire energy blast, stuff like
Yeah.
that. We haven't done a lot of weapon blasts, at least not for Marvel Select, just because it doesn't come up as often. Um, but there's going to be muzzle flashes and stuff for his
Oh,
various weapons, like rockets and lasers and blast, bullet fire and stuff like that.
and that's
So
going
it
to
should
be
be very
brilliant.
cool
Yeah,
when it comes out later on this year.
that's going to be a really nice figure to be able to pose and I mean, you could obviously have the classic Iron Man and War Machine back to back, or
Oh yeah,
standing on some kind of rubble, and
yeah.
having that kind of sideways pose. I can already imagine the possibilities that people are going to come up with.
No, it'll be a lot of fun to play with as soon as I get them.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously being an Iron Man fan, I bet that's a dream come true, really.
Yes, yeah.
The one question I do have as well, like another question, is obviously when it comes to Marvel, is there any kind of locked doors in a sense, like characters you can't touch for certain reasons?
Um, no, I mean, we work with Marvel to decide what characters would make sense to do next.
Hmm.
They have, if they're going to do something with a character, then maybe we won't do anything that is opposite of this. So maybe we won't make any comic Fantastic Four for a while now that we're working on movie stuff. Marvel is working on movie stuff. Um, and there are certain characters that maybe we might have made at one time that we maybe won't make again, just because things have changed and whether or not they're good as a toy, that sort of thing. But the other thing is vehicles. So any characters like closely identified with a vehicle, we aren't really able to do. Again, I
Hmm.
like with Muppets, we aren't able to do anything at that large scale, and it's not part of our licensed vehicles anyway. So if there's a vehicle involved, it's chances are you won't see a figure like that. But that's not saying never, but saying it's highly unlikely. But I know there are characters I like to see that have vehicles. So hopefully we can change that rule in the future.
Yeah.
But for now, it's it's pretty wide open. We're looking at characters from the Spider-Man universe. I think we have one coming up next. We're looking at characters from the X-Men universe. We're always looking to do more X-Men because we've made so many of them,
X-Men
and
is so
people
cool.
people want to complete the team. People want newer versions of the older figures. So we're always looking at different areas of the universe. And our Hulk figures always sell great. So
Oh, Hulk, yeah.
we're always looking across the board, both comic and movie, to see what would make sense. And Marvel's been great to work with.
Which is nice to hear, to be honest. That is nice to hear. The fact that you've got that kind of freedom, and if there's a character that you guys enjoy making, you can keep pursuing that instead of kind of going, we'd really like to make this and going, but we can't. And when you said vehicles, one character obviously popped in my head, which was Ghost Rider,
Mhm.
because the amount of things you could do with Ghost Rider is insane. I mean, obviously, there's that many iterations of Ghost Rider.
There are plenty of them. We made a really nice, like classic Johnny Blaze Ghost Rider figure in the
Mm,
blue outfit, which he didn't come with a motorcycle, but he came on this really cool base with a lot of these flaming hands reaching up from the ground and grabbing at him.
that's cool.
It was an awesome base, and I think it's a very cool figure. And to be able to do something like that again, with a different version of Ghost Rider would be really neat. Um, but we'll have to see if that ever happens, because that'd be very cool.
Yeah, because I mean, Ghost Rider, obviously, with all the flames and the different faces, you could probably put him with the penance stare, stuff like that.
Sure.
Like, yeah, really
Yeah.
going for it and all out, which obviously, like I've said, is something that is very much when you think of your toys, you think of the all outness, you think of the how many different things can we give this character,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is brilliant. I mean, one thing that I really liked with, as I said, the Mr. Fantastic figure was the fact that he has the stretchiness, and you can kind of he doesn't have to be really long, he doesn't have to be really short. You can kind of play around with it. He can have a long body or he can have a shortish body and longer arm. And it's brilliant.
Yeah. No, it's again, it's a lot of the stuff stuff comes from the mini mates. We've done a lot of different fun Mr. Fantastic parts for mini mates, and a lot of that cat again, and a lot of that comes out in the figures as well.
Well, I love the fact that you've made yourself as a mini mate and you've got that custom figure as well. I think that's really brilliant. I might look into making myself into an action figure
Oh,
because then I
sure.
can then I
It's
can photograph myself with these characters.
uh, yeah, I think a lot of the times it's easy to find an action figure head out there of someone who looks like you. I know there's a couple out there that I could track down if I needed to for myself. So I'm sure there's plenty for you. And mini mates are have this huge culture of creating what they call quick customs, QCs. And sometimes they don't involve any paint, they don't involve anything like that at all. It's just you just take the parts and you just mix them up and you have the figure that you want. Um, and It's a really great community. A lot of back and forth trading of parts. There's a store that specializes just in mini mates, and
Oh,
he
that's
sells
brilliant.
parts. He sells all sorts of parts that you might need. Um, but yeah, no, I have a current assignment from a friend of mine who's a reporter who wants a mini mate of him. The great part is he looks a lot like Tony Stark, so that would be nice and easy. He
Oh, there you
dresses like
go.
Tony Stark too, so that'll be easier.
Mm.
And he's in a wheelchair, and we've made actually a couple pretty good wheelchair pieces. So I'm looking forward to tracking down those parts and putting together a mini mate for him.
Which is brilliant. Because that relates back to obviously the constant thing of the individuality and the
Yeah.
this is mine in a sense, which I think is brilliant.
Yes.
Um, right, so I'm going to wrap it up with one final question that I've been asking
Sure.
everybody. Right, so obviously within the job you do, where obviously you work for the press and you are, the person who goes out and speaks at these events and stuff like that. How did you get into it? What advice would you give somebody who wants to get into it? Stuff like that.
Um, I got this job in kind of a roundabout way, but another way, I guess it's kind of been sort of a natural progression. I wanted to be work for a comic magazine because I loved comic books, and that was Wizard magazine back in the 90s, the late 90s, early 2000s. And I got a job at Toy Fair magazine instead, because I was kind of into action figures, and they needed somebody, and Wizard didn't. But that worked out great for me because I was there for 8 years, and it was a fantastic group of people to work with, and I met a lot of people in the industry, including the people at Diamond Select Toys. Um, and After a couple of years off from the industry in between Toy Fair and Diamond Select, I did some web writing. I wrote for the web. I did movie reviews and comedy pieces and things like that. I edited photos. I didn't do a lot with on the social media side, but they needed somebody to come in and do marketing for them, Diamond Select, and having the web experience and having the writing experience and knowing the toys and the product and all that and the industry. I guess they thought I was a good fit, so they brought me on, and I've been there for 14 years. Now, I don't think anybody could possibly duplicate the way I did it, because A, there's not a ton of magazines out there anymore. There's only a couple about toys,
Yeah.
that's for um, there are a couple of really good magazines about toys. So if you had experience writing for a toy magazine, then that would obviously help. But getting a degree in marketing or business is certainly very good. The amount of writing I have to do is because we have catalogs and things like that.
Mm.
But being a good writer certainly helps. Being able to make videos. There's a lot of people out there making great video content for different toy companies for their social media. Um, gosh, the photography can be helpful. There are people, most companies have at least one or two photographers working for them. We have a couple of great photographers working for us who shoot the product when it comes in,
Yeah.
prototypes. Um, so yeah, any one of those skills, if you hone it, the writing, the photography, the videography, the social media marketing, um, will probably get you in the door. If you're looking to design stuff, that's not really the way I went. I mean, I was an art major, but I didn't go to any of the places that specialize in like toy design or
Yeah.
anything like that. But I mean, if you're a talented 2D artist, um, and you can learn what you can and can't do with action figures for sure. Um, and uh, and that could get you in doing 2D design for action figures as well. So there's lots of ways to get into the toy industry. It's just it all depends on what you're interested in and what your
Yeah.
skill set.
Well, thank you so much. That was a brilliant answer, to be honest, because
Oh, no.
it's a lovely answer that has loads of doors. There's not just one straight and narrow path. You can kind of get into it from different avenues, different
Yes, for sure.
strengths and skills and stuff can culminate into this area of expertise, which I think is really nice as well, because it means that if somebody does want to get into it that maybe doesn't have one skill, but they have the other skill, it means that they can still
Yeah,
get in that door in a sense, which
yeah.
I think is really nice. But yeah, thank you so much for coming for this conversation. It's been lovely.
No, thank
Um,
you.
I really appreciate it. Like obviously, as you know, I'm just starting out, so having such a big company is brilliant to be able to speak to, and a company that obviously I've brought off and stuff like that. So it's nice. It's a nice thing. But yeah, thank you so much.
No
You've
problem
been
at
a
all. Thank you
brilliant
for having me.
guest.